advice. Plus, right now, get big savings on select business computers with Intel Core processors. Call 877-ASK-DELL. Amazing story, serious story coming out of the NBA regarding the health of Karis LeVert, the newest member of the Indiana Pacers. You might recall he spent 4.5 years with the Brooklyn Nets. He was traded to Houston in the Harden deal and then went from Houston to Indy. And because of all of that movement, he was required to take a physical to make sure everything was on the up and up for all of the people. Turns out there was a mass on his kidney found only during the physical. Waiting to see if it's cancerous, obviously hoping for the best. Here is LeVert. Wow.
I didn't have any symptoms. Obviously, as you all know, I was playing in games. I hadn't missed any games this season yet. I was feeling 100% healthy. So in a way, this trade definitely, showed and revealed, what was going on in my body. So I'm definitely looking at it, from that side, and definitely humbled to know that this trade could have possibly, saved me.
Saved his life, Jay. Saved his life, maybe.
It's such a moving story, and Karis's approach to this whole thing about everything happens for a reason only allows me to continue to believe in that. And he's dealt with a lot of adversity in his life. His mom has MS. He talks about that openly in the article about how challenging that was and how all these scenarios have prepared him to go through a process like this. And I mean, think about it. I mean, that is finding light in the midst of a trade saves your life. It's I know he still didn't find out whether that is cancerous or not yet. Our prayers are with him now.
No doubt. Obviously hoping for the best. And this sounds so trivial, but I should mention from a basketball perspective, he's expected to replace Oladipo. As you know, Jay, TJ Warren is out. Miles Turner fractured his right hand the other day. So they could really use him out there. But right now, first things first, hope his health is in the best of condition. We'll obviously keep you up to date on that. Keeping you up to date on Kyrie Irving is a daily assignment on the program. Kyrie is happy to be back, quote unquote, happy to be back, rejoining the Nets. He missed the last 7 games tonight. The Nets are in Cleveland, back-to-back games against Cleveland, a city, of course, he knows well. Here is Kyrie with our Malika Andrews on the time he missed. Take a listen to this back and forth.
Hi, Kyrie. I'm wondering if you were aware that you had violated the health and safety protocols and what that process was like for you in coming back and going through that investigation, one. And then secondly, what your communication was like with the team while you were away.
Happy to be back. Happy to be around these guys, address the team, address everybody that need to be addressed. Now it's time to move on.
Bruce Beck. Health and safety front.
I'm sorry, Malika, go ahead.
I just was circling back on the health and safety front.
Happy to be back.
Jay?
So, he also said a lot more though, Key. He said things like when things become overwhelming in life, you just got to take a step back and realize what's important. And I love to play. It's never been a question. I've committed myself when this wasn't even a big thing for me. He talks about mental health. He talks about some family challenges. And he also said that he addressed everybody on his team and his coaching staff. Look, as long as he's addressed everybody on the team and the GM and the owner, whatever happened, that's between them. There's going to be a lot of ancillary noise that comes around it. But I also would like to remind people all the great things that Kyrie Irving has done in the community. I'm not saying one makes up for the other, but there is a lot of good that Kyrie Irving brings. And at the end of the day, his teammates and the team owner and the GM, they're going to have to manage that relationship, and we're going to be on the outside paying attention to whether it actually translates to the court.
Look, it is, and I said this before, and I'll say it again. Addressing your team in the ownership group and the coaches, that's all I care about. You don't have to answer the questions at all if you choose to do so. I mean, I would like for you to sit up maybe and, maybe not lean forward and act as though you're being bothered, but he is who he is, and you have to take it for what it is and roll with it. But as long as he addressed the team and the ownership group, like you said, and told them what the deal was, he owes nothing to the fans and nothing to the media at all.
That's how I look at it. As a teammate, I'm like, look, I don't care whatever you say to the media. I don't care if people want to criticize you, kill you, whatever it is. As long as you're performing on the court and you're riding with us, as long as you're here and you're present with us, we good. Because at the end of the day, it's about winning a championship, and that's what they're all there to do.
Yeah. team, addressing the team, winning a championship, talking to the coaches and the owners, and not harming yourself, I'm good. You ain't never got to talk to the media as far as I'm concerned. I could care less, Zubin.
And we should mention that at the end of the day, Kyrie is a human just like everybody else. So you have to accept the total package. You take the good with the bad. Everybody has good days, bad days. Yes, he's an all-world baller, but he's also, as Jay said, somebody that's a humanitarian. He's somebody that wants to put forth better things civically, whether it's the George Floyd story some of you may have heard about the other day, or paying the salary of the WNBA players who generally are living paycheck to paycheck and giving them an opportunity to survive financially when there was no basketball. You got to take all of it in stride.
But that's not sexy, right? Sports media
Exactly.
wants the sexiness. The sexiness is leaning forward and mumbling one or two words so we could talk about it. They don't want to talk about the George Floyd stuff. That ain't everywhere posted all over sports centers and in blogs. And
I would argue with you.
It's not sexy
You
enough.
really think that they swept that George Floyd story under the rug?
It's not,
it was on every mainstream publication.
It's not
Case.
swept under the rug. It's not talked about. You may blast it, but you're not having a conversation on a constant basis about the things that he does off the court that's important to him. You're more concerned with his mumbling and his one-word answers. That's the reality of it. That's why we're talking about it this morning, Zubin.
No, it's part and parcel. It's part and parcel. The mainstream media puts it out there, and then it's basically upon the rest of the mainstream media to discuss it. So to say the mainstream media or big outlets aren't discussing that, it's everywhere.
It's one conversation about it. Then it's gone. Then it's where have you been? What are you doing? Why is it this happening? Have you addressed your team? What did the owner say? That's the conversation now. How come? Only reason why we even having a conversation right now about the George Floyd situation in the buying of the house is because Jay brought it up.
All I'm saying, Zubin, I think it's posted everywhere on social media, but when it comes up as talking points on different shows, I don't hear people dig into the depths on scenarios like that. It's more so about how polarizing Kyrie is, and now is Kyrie a good teammate, and how's his relationship with Kevin Durant? Like that becomes more the narrative than what he's doing.
Jay is explaining it very astutely. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I'll just disagree. I'm just saying it's out there. Okay, you can't discuss it if it's not out there to begin with.
It is out there. There's no question about it. It's out there. But it's not being talked about like many things in the world that we see on an everyday basis. It's out there, but you pick and you choose what is important to talk about in your mind. That is what mainstream media does. Let's not act as though it's being run. There's sit downs talking about it. Nobody has tried to sit down with him to talk about it. Nobody has sat down with George Floyd's family to talk about it every single day. Why is that though? Because it's not sexy. And it's not just because it's George Floyd, other things that he's doing. It's not sexy. I get it. I understand it's not sports sexy. And that's okay. That's fine. It's not a right or a wrong. I'm just bringing up that they rather concentrate on where Kyrie was at and what he's doing.
And Key, I think we have to be, and that's why I said when this whole thing first broke, I said, hey, look, I think I need a little bit more context. Now, I wasn't provided with the context as far as what happened in Kyrie Irving's family, but I do want to make sure that we take a step back here and we think about what we have all gone through this past year and how everybody is affected differently. I'm not saying that excuses types of behavior where lack of communication to his team.
Yes.
But this has been a hell of a year, man, and everybody's dealing with this differently. And I will say this. I don't know about you, Key, but, when we were on air the first couple of weeks of our brand new show, and we felt a responsibility. I take that back. There was a responsibility because of the way you and I were raised and the color of our skin to discuss really major issues within our country, right? Major issues. And I'm saying that weighs on you. I know it weighed on me to a degree. I don't know how that affected a guy like Kyrie Irving who has a platform and a microphone in his face every single day. And there's this responsibility that we put upon athletes to say those things and to be the leaders for our society in a way, right? That's a hell of a responsibility. I don't know how it is to carry that weight in Kyrie Irving's position. That's all I'm saying.
And he's probably, and Jay and Zubin, he's probably dealing with a lot of whatever it is that he's dealing with in his life. But you know, I always find it funny, having been a professional athlete myself, and not only that, been somewhat of, I guess you can call, a polarizing figure. When things come up, people wanted to talk about what was sexy, but not the things that really mattered. And I see the same thing for a lot of guys in this day and age. You almost got to force those things to be brought up and mentioned and had conversations. And you are correct 100%, Zubin, about it is out there. But my whole point is it's not being talked about. There's not a conversation around it on an ongoing basis. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I'm just saying you can't have one without the other. I get it. We should just mention, though, Kyrie did say, to encapsulate what Key said, and obviously this is just a short statement, but, quote, he's also said in his press conference yesterday, quote, had a lot of family and personal stuff going on, so just want to leave it at that. And I think at some point in all of our lives, we just want to leave it at that. You don't need to know. I don't need to know. And in this case, we don't need to know about Kyrie unless he wants to bring it to the surface. But he should be back tonight. Nets and the Cavs, and as Key said,
Zubin?
that's essentially what most people want to talk about, the hoops, not the other stuff. What do you got?
I just one last thing, caveat. I mean, he did pay off college tuition for 9 HBCU students from Lincoln University. So there's so many things that we don't talk about.